Hello everybody, my name is Gal Ben-Yair. I'm the CTO and VP Product Management for Tadiran Telecom. Today we're going to take a look at how to launch an Aeonix instance on AWS. So first things first, for this demonstration we assume that you have an AWS account already. That's very easy to do. You just go to the AWS, create an account, give your credit card over, and that's it, you're done. Also, we assume that you have a VPC ready to go. And a VPC is a virtual private cloud. It defines the network within the cloud, basically firewall, subnets, any gateway connectivity, and so on and so forth. So let's start. From anywhere, Google, you go and search for the AWS console and browse to AWS, and you sign in to your AWS console. Once inside, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the EC2, which defines virtual servers within your cloud environment. So once you go to your instances, first thing you would like to do is choose the region where you would like to launch Aeonix. North Virginia is the home base of AWS. It's also the cheapest place to play with AWS itself and launch instances. It's definitely the most convenient, so let's do this here. All you need to do to launch Aeonix is start by pressing the launch instance. Because Aeonix is on the AWS Marketplace, all you need to do is go to the AWS Marketplace, search for Aeonix, and there you go. Select your AWS Aeonix instance. So on this page, what we're going to do is choose an instance type. Aeonix runs on multiple instance types that you can see here. Generally speaking, M3 Medium is a very good instance type to run 200, 300, 400, up to 2,000 users. The M4 Large is also a good selection. If you go to the Aeonix configuration guide, you will get a table. It tells you exactly what you need to know about which instance to choose. So, for this demonstration, we're going to choose the M4 Large instance. So once you choose your instance size, what you would like to do now is define where exactly Aeonix is going to be launched. So here you choose your VPC that, as we said at the beginning, you already need to have defined. It defines your subnets and gateways and so on and so forth. In addition, you can choose whether Aeonix does or doesn't have a public IP address. What we suggest is that Aeonix does not have a public IP address, and what you can do is create another instance, another Windows instance machine, for example, that does have a public IP address, RDP into it, and then control everything, your entire cloud infrastructure from there. It's more secure, and but for this demonstration, we're going to enable a public IP address directly. Okay, Aeonix only needs one network interface, so really what we do now is go to the next page. On this page, we define the storage. Again, in the Aeonix specification guide, you have a table that clearly states how much storage you're going to need depending on how many users you're going to have. For this demonstration, we're just going to take 50 gigabytes and then press next. These are tagged instances. If you don't know what to do here, I suggest you don't do anything. If you do know what to do here, then you can set up tags to allow you to better control your instances. Next up is configuring the security groups. Now, security groups are very important. They're what keeps your Aeonix safe. What we have here is a security groups that allows everything to be open. But generally speaking, we suggest that you don't do this and really lock down your Aeonix with the built-in AWS firewall. You would like to communicate with your Aeonix through SSH, through port 5060 for SIP and various other ports. it's very important to remember, lock down your system. So let's review what we have and launch the instance. So as you can see, we have AMIs, the AMI Tadiran Aeonix, it's set up. An M4 machine, 2 cores, 8 gigs of RAM, we're good here. The security group is well defined. We have our storage, instance detail, everything's ready to go. We press launch. Now, what we do here is we define the key pair. Unlike Aeonix that's installed on premise, Aeonix that's installed on AWS does not use a default username and password that you get off of a document somewhere. What we have here is key pair security. It's one of the most secure ways to, or the leading secure way to connect to AWS, to machines. And I suggest that for every machine you create a brand new pair. I'll create a new pair here, demo key pair. And when you create it, you have a chance to download that key pair. So you press the download key pair, and this is the only time AWS will allow you to download this key pair. And once you have this key pair, you can use it to connect to AWS. For this demonstration, I will use our existing key pairs. You acknowledge that you have access and you launch the instance. So while it's launching, I'll tell you that the files that you did download from when you created your key pair, keep them in a safe place. If those get out, anybody can access your cloud. It's very important to keep them very secure and not email them to anyone. Okay, so here the launch status shows that your instances are now launching. You can go to view instances down here. And you can see, here's our instance right here. I can give it a name, demo instance, and we will wait until it finishes initializing. Okay, you will know that your instance is up once the status check is complete, and you can see 2 out of 2 checks are complete, and you already have your IP address right here. That's your public IP address, and let's connect to our instance. All you need to do is download and install PuTTY, put the host name here. Unlike where you would regularly go and connect to a remote machine, you also need to provide the private key for authentication here. So you go to your connection, SSH, browse. I put the files on the desktop and just select the file and open. Now, the beauty of this is that when it asks you what to log in as, you log in as EC2 user, and you don't need to enter a password because your private key is, of course, your password. Okay, now that we're in, what we do is we need root access, so we run sudo su. And we have root access. We're going to go to home, Aeonix admin, and we're going to run setup.sh. Now, what happened here is that running setup.sh automatically disconnected PuTTY, and this is a mandatory part of the installation. What happens here is that when we provide an instance of Aeonix on the AWS, the image size is very small. It's if I remember correctly, it's 8 gigabytes. Now, you provided a hard drive of 50 gigabytes. So the first thing that we need to do is make sure that the 8 gigabytes grow into the 50 that you've defined. So we do this, and then a reboot is required, so the machine reboots. Okay, now once enough time has passed, this usually takes about a minute, you can restart the session. And again, you enter EC2 user as your user. By the way, other than sudo su, in order to get root access, you can also run sudo setup, which is simply running sudo home Aeonix admin setup.sh. So that works as well. And now you can see that the new image definitions have taken place, and we're growing the hard drive to fill up the 50 gigabytes. You can see the new size is 50 gigabytes. First thing you do is you provide the host name of the server. So we're just going to give it a demo instance. That's the host name. You need to specify where you are located. This is to let you know where your time zone is exactly. So we're in America, New York. Here you can set up your date and time. Usually pressing enter just works here. Of course you can enter your NTP, and we're not going to enter an NTP right now. Once this is done, it's the installer asks you whether you want to install Aeonix, and we're going to say yes. So first things first is that the setup is going to expand within the drive and then allow us to continue installing. This can take a couple of minutes. Okay, so once expansion is completed, what we do is press enter to continue. We read through the EULA, end user license agreement, agree to it by typing yes, and then we type 1 to install Aeonix with MP conference unit. And now we go through the installation process, which should also take a few more minutes. Okay, once Aeonix has been installed, we can run the setup, the cluster wizard, and install multiple servers in the cluster. In this case, we're just going to write no and continue on with the installation. So as the installation finishes up, now you can select whether you would like to install CMail or not, and ACC as well. You can install all three products on this server. So we're going to choose no and no and reboot our machine. Complete the installation. Okay, so after restart, the Aeonix instance has come back up. You can see that status check shows 2 checks green. And now all we need to do is browse. And we will go to this address. And as you can see, you get the Aeonix login screen. Now, you log in with the usual user, which is Aeonix admin. But the password, unlike a regular on-premise install, will not be Aeonix. It's going to be your instance ID of that instance. This is part of the security that AWS provides with Aeonix. So now, what we see is the licensing screen. And you can contact your Tadiran and your local dealer and activate your Aeonix as you would any other Aeonix, virtualized, non-virtualized, on-premise or on cloud. And this concludes the demonstration on how to set up an Aeonix instance on AWS. Thank you for joining.